Whenever somebody asks you a question and you think that you're wrong with an answer that you'd given before or sort of your preparation for something, it really makes you stop and think, oh no, did I make a mistake, right? It doesn't matter what your position is in life. I own a company called WELLOGA. We offer education for corporate groups, and I really try my best to offer the things that people need. So what I want to do today is I want to share a story with you guys, hoping that it will be both helpful to you as a listener and also to the people that might be working for you on a team or people that you are supervising or even people that you're working with, because I found it to be so interesting. I had one of those days where I set out to do a very specific project, and a part of that project was analyzing feedback that I've gotten over past year from different groups of employees to make sure I was covering everything off. Now, of course, I take a lot of pride in what I do. I try very hard to offer all of the education that people have asked for in past years going forward to make sure I'm not missing anything. So let me just take you back a step. In January and February, I looked at all of the different people who had asked me for subject matter that I didn't yet have covered, which means I don't have a speaker on a certain topic or there's just not a workshop yet developed. Now, some of those topics I would say belong in this sort of trendy bucket. I'm going to put up this square here so that you can have a look at it while I'm talking. But if we think about trendy topics, think AI, anything AI when it comes to management, how they feel about AI, how they manage their employees now that AI is on the scene, which AI tools we use, how to make life easier, all that stuff, right? And then another topic that comes up a lot is how do we manage all these multi-generations underneath one roof? Because when you think about management training, we aren't really taught how to think about different generations under one roof. And let's face it, everybody has different values and so on and so forth. So we try to place some education around that this year as well, because it was missing last year. The other thing that I wanted to add was more understanding around how to manage teams that are both remote and hybrid to make sure that people maintain productivity, have good work ethic, have good relationships within teams. So I scoured to find great speakers and great workshops on all of this subject matter, and I felt so good at the end of February. We added 20 new workshops, I think 5 or 6 new speakers, maybe 7. And anyways, look, there's a huge selection of workshops now and a huge selection of instructors. And what we do at WELLOGA is try to offer all the education that an employer might need when it comes to wellness. Wellness is a huge scope, you guys. If you don't know me, you can, of course, have a look at the website. But to me, wellness is anything that's going to make you feel good in life or at work. So it can span anything to, yes, balancing your nervous system and being able to reduce your stress, all the way to feeling confident and capable and creative in the workspace, and anything and everything in between. I'm going to cover all of it in these sort of 4 different quadrants. So have you ever had one of those moments where you sit down to do a project and then all of a sudden you go off in this whole entire different direction? So I got one feedback saying that I didn't have the right workshops for them. And of course, we are sensitive people when we work at something so hard. And I thought, oh gosh, am I really still missing something? And I went all the way through and I started looking at all the workshops. And while I tried to answer in my own mind the question that this person was asking, and if I did have it covered, what I ended up realizing is that I put all of these workshop topics in front of a huge group of employees so that they could choose which ones they wanted for the upcoming year. Now, I gave them more workshops than they were going to run so that they truly had a choice. That's something else we do at WELLOGA, is we let the employees choose as opposed to senior management, because employees always know what it is that they want. And yes, there were things on there for AI and about managing these remote teams and looking after employees that are in all these different sort of generations and have different needs and different values. And none of them were chosen. I thought to myself, wow, like I work so incredibly hard to put these types of selections in front of people. And I found it so interesting that they weren't chosen. Now, of course, I started to look at what was chosen. And this is where my huge aha moment happened. I'm going to, let me put down my microphone here so that I can use my hands to explain. Over the last 7 years that I've been doing this, there's always been sort of 2 groupings, if you will, of education that can be offered. I used to say that some of it was around stress management, anything when it comes to the body and the mind and being able to focus and find calm and relaxation and to really be able to be more productive and take truly good care of yourself. Sleep, all of that stuff falls under there. And then there's all the things around soft skill development, how to become a better leader, how to have stronger relationships, how to communicate with people better, and all of those kind of things. A lot of people might not even say that that's wellness, but for me, they are one and the same, but sort of live on 2 different sides of the spectrum in terms of education. Now, when I look at it, it's very clearly four different boxes. And the first one I'm going to call kind of trendy topics, which is that AI, multi-generational, remote workspace. This is when you look on LinkedIn and you see people talking about upcoming talks. This is what I kept seeing over and over again, which, believe me, I'm not here to say that that's not important. I'm just here to say that what is it that employees that I've been exposed to have really been after. Now, if you think about stress and you know that you're stressed, you might even know if it's mental or emotional or physical or environmental or spiritual. There's all kinds of different stress, right? And what people, I used to say, used to want were the tools, like how to breathe, how to eat, how to move, and all these different stages of your life. And they're looking for tools, right? Real things that you can use in the moment. And then, yes, of course, they want education on how to be a better employee, better manager, better team member. But there's this whole new box, which I didn't really consider, which became very obvious when I was doing my research from my own data, okay? We're talking about, if I put it all together, thousands of employees. But what ended up happening is I realized that this whole new bucket, which I did not see before, is emotional and cognitive overload. So if I was going to draw you a picture, and I'm going to do it with my hands, I want you to think about a funnel. Okay, so I would say that the top of the funnel is cognitive and emotional overload. If I had to explain to you what that meant from my perspective, is it meant that not only do people have more work to do in the time that they have been allotted to do that work, which is what I used to feel like people would explain, right? We don't get breaks. We have to work too many hours. It's just like too much work. Now, what I hear is that there's too much information coming from too many places. It's almost like people have decision fatigue. They are getting information from so many sources in life. And remember, when we talk about stress, we're not just talking about our cognitive overload. We're not just talking about what's happening in the workplace, because the workplace and life have become very blurred. So think about yourself and all the places that you get information, all of the different forms of media, all the different forms of entertainment. You still have family and friends you get information from. Work, sometimes that's not even consistent, right? So much information that, as opposed to people feeling like they're burnt out, people are expressing this idea of feeling almost frozen. So they can't really do anything. They can't even look for the tools yet because they don't know what to do with all this information. Now, when you think about information coming in, you think about your brain and, gosh, how many decisions can I make? And what are they expecting of me? And, you freeze. What are they expecting of me? It could be a workplace, could be a family, could be anything, right? But then add on the emotional context to each one of these things. Think about all of the political issues that are happening in the world and how closely that hits to home for some people. Think about people who are caregiving at home, and that's almost like an extra job on top of a job. All of the other things that might be going on, economical issues, and yes, of course, there's all the social media and all the technical, which also could have an emotional effect, right? I need to be this beautiful. I need to be this smart. I need to be using all of these tools. So I just found it to be so interesting, and really, I don't want to say the word sad, but kind of touched me quite deeply to think that all these people that are working remotely and in an office and hybrid, that span all these different cultures and all these different age groups, are all having a similar challenge, but it's not the challenge I had originally thought. The challenge is just too much information. So instead of thinking about how to calm yourself when all of this happens, I'm starting to think more about how do you reduce all the information coming in? How do you just choose which funnels of information are going to work the best for you? And that's where this new sort of piece of information comes in. How do you, in an educated way, figure out where to get your information from? How can you funnel your decisions to make less of them? How can we find more support with the people around us? Because that's the other issue, right? Is all of the isolation that we have from working at home, lack of trust in people that might be employing you, lack of trust with people on your team. So I just thought that was really, really interesting. So people always say when they hear a webinar on something like mindfulness or how to breathe, it's like, oh, they already know that. But they aren't using those tools because they're not even at a place yet where they can take a breath. It's almost like we've gone a little bit backwards, which is a shame. And I really hope to be able to make an impact, not just myself, with all the other people who work under WELLOGA as well. But I wanted to share this with you guys, whether you're an employee working for a company, whether you're somebody who owns a business and you're working on your own, or, managing a huge amount of people. it's just really important to understand that people are overwhelmed, not by all the things that they need to do necessarily. They are first overwhelmed because of all the information coming in and they don't even know what to focus on. And learning a lot about your health and understanding, you need to take care of yourself first before you can take care of anybody else. And some of the smaller things that you can do in order to reduce that cognitive overload and just make some really smart decisions to give yourself a little bit of reprieve. And then, of course, we want to teach people about those techniques. So let me just sort of summarize this for you guys because it is a lot of information. So what I took away is that in the world of corporate wellness, I believe that there are 4 quadrants now. The first one is the trendy stuff. I'm not saying any one is more important than the other, but some of them shouldn't be overlooked. So yes, we've got trendy. We need to learn how to use AI. We need to manage people who are using AI. Remote people of different generations, all really important, but employees are not biting on that yet, okay? They've already got too much information. Now, somebody might comment on my post and say, well, if they use more AI, they'd have to make less decisions. And look, of course, I understand that there are exceptions here and people might not even understand that, right? When they're sort of choosing their webinars, how something will make it easier, but what they feel and what they are thinking is very real. It's simply too much, right? They almost feels like people want to be rescued because they are frozen. They don't know how to lift themselves up from this really heavy, overwhelming place. Then we have all the things I just talked to you guys about. So anything to do with how to manage information overload and emotional experience overload, okay? And then there's this other quadrant. Now, I might have thought that diversity, equity, and inclusion and things on microaggressions would have still been a bit trendy, but I'm very wrong because, some companies only just started asking me for that sort of thing last year, but now people expect it. It is supposed to be a part of their wellness package. And if you are listening to me speak right now and you think, oh my gosh, we don't have that covered, then you need to get on it, right? Because people really expect that that's naturally a part of your company, the ethos of your company, that it's information that can be received in, of course, various different forms and support in various different forms. If you want to talk to me about this further, of course, it's not just diversity, equity, and inclusion and those couple of things that I mentioned, but also things around communication and about conflict resolution and about managing with empathy. All of that stuff, it's quite everyday conversation now. And it's interesting because it's still a lot of different topics to think about, but people expect that. That's another thing that I always feel reminded of all the time is how smart and intelligent employees are. They don't only know what they want, but they also know what they need. And now they have expectations, and we need to make sure that we are set up for those expectations to the best of our ability. And every company is going to look different, right? Doing online education is very affordable. I'll throw that in. And of course, I'm here to talk to you anytime if you wanted to troubleshoot with someone. Now, the last piece, it's not to say that learning how to breathe and learning how to move and learning about self-awareness and mindfulness practices and how to relax your body and your face from screen fatigue and all of those kind of other cool tools, meditation, that go into that real wellness box. This is the box I'm going to say that when people think about wellness, this is what they're like, of course, that's in there, right? That makes sense. Again, all of that stuff is expected. These things are no longer trendy. It's no longer new. If you are saying to yourself, yes, I have a wellness program, and you don't have ways to teach people how to be mindful and to have mindfulness practices and how to slow down and develop their own self-awareness and to truly take care of their body, mind, and heart, you're missing out, right? You need to have all those things now. And of course, we need to have all those other development features as well. And so hopefully you can learn, like I am learning, that everybody has kind of leveled up now from what they expect from us from a corporate wellness perspective. It can be delivered in lots of different ways, but we need to stay on top of all 4 quadrants. You need trend, you need to understand this overload piece, you need to understand the relationship piece, the support piece, the identity piece, and you also need to teach people the tools to manage their wellness. So I think I got all the information in there for you guys, but I've been dying to do this post for a little while because I thought it was so interesting to discover this information when I did not set out to figure it out. Someone asked me one question, I thought I missed something, and then I went back and I went on this big discovery. I think it probably took me the better part of a day to be able to illustrate it, right? So that's it. Please write in the comments if you found this useful, if you got anything out of it, if you have anything to add, always love that too. And if you are interested in WELLOGA or any of our services, you can simply go to the website. It's www.welloga.com. WELLOGA.space, SPACE. And you can book an appointment with me or simply look around. There's about 100 different workshops. They each have descriptions attached to them now, and I'd love for you to have a look. And I am here to help you and support you in any way that I can, along with the other people who are partners with WELLOGA. And I hope you have a beautiful day. Bye.